Boom! What if the greatest scientific mind was once called a failure? Albert Einstein, rebel, school dropout, the man who redefined reality, hid secrets your textbooks ignored. This isn't just history, it's your rocket fuel to master English. Welcome to Learn English with Stories 365, where we blast through boring lessons. Today, how a dyslexic child, fired from his job, cracked the universe's code with E equals MC square, and why his darkest struggles hold the key to your fluency. You'll steal his tricks. Vocabulary that electrifies, grammar sharper than genius, and storytelling skills to make jaws drop. Write this down. Warning, by the end, you'll question limits in English and life. Ready? Let's unravel the explosive truth behind the hair, the myths, the revolution. Curiosity didn't just kill the cat. It built the atomic age. Press play. The story. Segment 1. Early life and childhood. Imagine a baby who remains silent for the first 3 years of their life. No one thought he would be a genius who would change our understanding of the universe. March 14, 1879, Ulm, Germany. A quiet boy was born. Albert Einstein was born into a middle-class Jewish family. His father, Hermann, owned an electrical company, and his mother, Pauline, was a talented musician who played the piano beautifully. Albert had a calm and quiet start to life, but he was not what people would call a normal child. In fact, many people thought he was quite unusual. If this is the first time you've heard that Albert didn't speak until he was 3 years old, you're not alone. That's right. His parents were worried about him because he seemed so slow to talk. Can you imagine how anxious they must have felt? When Albert finally began speaking, he would often repeat sentences to himself very softly. Because of this, the family sometimes called him the little professor. What about you? Do you remember how old you were when you started talking? Or maybe you know a child who started late, just like Albert. When Albert was 5 years old, something incredible happened that changed his life forever. His father gave him a simple gift, a compass. Now, a compass might not seem exciting to you or me, but to young Albert it was magical. He was fascinated by the way the needle always pointed north, no matter how much he moved it. Albert began to wonder, what is making the needle move? Is there an invisible force I can't see? This small moment sparked his love for science. It shows us that even tiny experiences can inspire big dreams. Have you ever had a small moment like that, one that made you curious about the world? Albert's curiosity only grew as he got older. But he wasn't like other children his age. He loved to think and observe instead of playing noisy games or being very social. Some people thought he was strange because he liked to spend so much time alone. But Albert didn't mind. He loved exploring ideas and thinking deeply. His curiosity made him different, but it also made him special. Do you like to spend time alone, thinking or reading? If so, maybe you and young Albert have something in common. At school, things weren't very easy for Albert. He attended Catholic school even though his family was Jewish. This wasn't unusual at the time, but Albert often felt like he didn't fit in. His teachers expected students to follow strict rules and memorize facts. Albert, however, was not interested in just memorizing things. He wanted to understand how things worked. He often asked his teachers deep and unusual questions. Why is the sky blue? How does light travel? What makes the stars shine? His teachers didn't always have answers, and some even got annoyed with him. One teacher famously told him, "Albert, you'll never amount to anything." Isn't that shocking? Can you imagine a teacher saying that to someone like Einstein? Despite the challenges he faced at school, Albert had one subject he absolutely loved: math. Numbers fascinated him, and he found joy in solving mathematical problems. To him, math was like a puzzle, and he couldn't stop solving it. If you've ever solved a puzzle or played a game that made you feel excited and proud, then you know exactly how Albert felt when he worked on math. When Albert was about 10 years old, his family moved to Munich, where his father started a new business. Life in Munich brought new experiences for Albert. He began to study physics and read advanced books that most children his age couldn't understand. Can you picture a 10-year-old reading books about the laws of nature instead of playing outside? That was Albert. But life wasn't all easy for the Einstein family. Herman's business didn't do well, and the family struggled with money. This was a hard time for Albert, but it taught him an important lesson. Life isn't always fair, but you have to keep going. Do you agree with that lesson? Maybe you've faced hard times too, but you kept moving forward, just like Albert's family. Another turning point came when Albert met Max Talmud, a young medical student who became a family friend. Max noticed Albert's curiosity and gave him books about science and philosophy. Albert read these books eagerly and asked Max countless questions. This friendship helped Albert see that learning could happen outside of school too. Do you have a friend, teacher, or family member who inspires you to learn more? If so, you're lucky, just like Albert was. By the time Albert was a teenager, he had developed a strong love for music, thanks to his mother. Pauline taught him to play the violin, and music became a lifelong passion for him. Whenever he felt stressed or frustrated, Albert would pick up his violin and play. Music was like a friend that comforted him during tough times. Do you play an instrument or have a favorite song that makes you feel better when you're sad? At the age of 16, Albert faced a big decision. His father's business failed, and the family had to move to Italy. Albert stayed behind in Germany to finish school, but he didn't enjoy it at all. He thought the lessons were boring, and he didn't like how strict the teachers were. He wanted to learn in his own way, so he made a bold choice. He decided to leave school and join his family in Italy. This decision surprised everyone, but Albert believed it was the right thing to do. Have you ever had to make a big decision that changed your life? Albert's childhood teaches us many important lessons. First, it shows us that being different is not a bad thing. Albert didn't fit in with other kids, but his curiosity and unique way of thinking helped him succeed later in life. Second, his story reminds us that small moments, like receiving a compass or meeting a kind mentor, can inspire us in big ways. Finally, Albert's early life shows us that even if people doubt us or say we can't succeed, we should never stop believing in ourselves. So, what do you think about young Albert's story so far? Can you see a bit of yourself in him? Maybe you've been curious about something and wanted to learn more, or maybe you faced challenges but kept going. Just like Albert, you have the potential to do great things, no matter where you start. His journey is just beginning, and there's so much more to discover. Are you ready to hear what happens next? Stay tuned for the next part of the story, where we'll explore Albert's struggles and how he overcame them to follow his dreams. Segment 2. Struggles and Education. Imagine this. Albert Einstein, one of the smartest people ever, had to drop out of school. Can you believe it? He hated the rules and the teachers. So he left Germany and joined his family in Italy. But now what? No diploma, no clear path. He felt lost, just like you might feel if you don't know what to do next. Let's see how this amazing thinker overcame this big challenge. Albert Einstein's journey wasn't always smooth. Even though he showed brilliance from a young age, life threw many challenges his way. Let's continue the story and see how Albert's struggles shaped him into the person we remember today. After leaving school in Germany, Albert reunited with his family in Italy. He was glad to escape the strict teachers and the rigid school system he disliked so much. However, leaving school without a formal diploma made his path uncertain. What could he do next? How could he prove his talent when the education system didn't work for him? Have you ever felt stuck, not knowing what to do next? That's exactly how Albert must have felt at that time. Albert's love for learning never disappeared. While in Italy, he spent his days reading books on physics, mathematics, and philosophy. He was like a sponge, soaking up knowledge wherever he could find it. But deep inside, he knew he needed a proper education to make something of himself. So Albert made a decision. He would apply to the Swiss Federal Polytechnic School in Zurich, Switzerland. This school was known for its excellent science and mathematics programs. It seemed like the perfect place for someone like Albert. However, getting into the school was not easy. Albert had to pass a difficult entrance exam. He was confident about the math and science parts, but the exam also tested other subjects like languages, history, and geography. Albert didn't do well in these areas, and he failed the test. Can you imagine how disappointed he must have felt? Have you ever studied hard for something but didn't succeed? It can be heartbreaking, right? But Albert didn't give up. Instead of feeling sorry for himself, he worked harder. He enrolled in a school in Aarau, Switzerland, to improve his knowledge and prepare for the entrance exam again. While studying there, Albert lived with a kind family who treated him like their own son. They supported him and gave him the confidence he needed to keep going. Isn't it amazing how a little kindness can make a big difference? Have you ever had someone who believed in you when you needed it the most? At Aarau, Albert experienced a different kind of education. The teachers encouraged students to think creatively and ask questions, which was very different from his strict German school. For the first time, Albert felt that his curiosity was valued. He thrived in this environment and worked hard to improve his skills. When he retook the entrance exam for the Polytechnic School, he passed with flying colors. It was a proud moment for him, and it marked the beginning of the next chapter in his life. Once Albert started studying in Zurich, things didn't get any easier. He was surrounded by some of the brightest students in Europe, and the competition was tough. On top of that, Albert had his own unique way of learning. He didn't always attend lectures or follow the same methods as his classmates. Instead, he studied on his own, diving deeply into the topics that fascinated him. Have you ever found your own way of learning, something that works better for you than the usual methods? That's what Albert did, even when others doubted him. While studying at the Polytechnic School, Albert met a young woman named Mileva Maric. She was one of the few women studying science at the time, which was very rare in those days. Mileva and Albert shared a love for physics and spent hours discussing theories and ideas. Over time, their friendship turned into romance, and they dreamed of building a life together. However, their relationship wasn't easy. Many people, including Albert's family, disapproved of Mileva because she was older than Albert and came from a different cultural background. Despite the challenges, Albert and Mileva supported each other as they worked toward their goals. But life threw more difficulties their way. After graduating, Albert struggled to find a job. Can you believe that one of the greatest minds in history couldn't get hired? He applied for many positions, but faced rejection after rejection. Employers thought he was too independent and unconventional. They didn't understand his genius because he didn't fit the mold of a typical scientist. Have you ever felt like you didn't fit in or that others didn't see your potential? It can be very frustrating. To make ends meet, Albert took odd jobs, including tutoring students. It was a humbling experience, but he never stopped learning and thinking about science. During this time, he continued working on his own theories and writing scientific papers. Even though the world didn't recognize his talent yet, Albert believed in himself. He once said, "I am thankful for all those who said no to me. It's because of them I did it myself." Isn't that a powerful thought? Sometimes rejection can push us to work even harder. Eventually, Albert's perseverance paid off. In 1902, he found a job as a clerk at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern. This might sound like an ordinary job, but it was perfect for Albert. He reviewed inventions and thought about how things worked, which gave him plenty of time to think about his own ideas. While working at the patent office, Albert made some of the most important discoveries in physics. Isn't it interesting how life works? Sometimes the path to success isn't straight, but every step teaches us something valuable. During this time, Albert worked tirelessly on his scientific ideas. He spent his evenings and weekends writing papers and developing theories. In 1905, which is often called his miracle year, Albert published 4 groundbreaking papers that changed the world of science. These papers introduced ideas about the photoelectric effect, Brownian motion, and the special theory of relativity. One of these papers included the famous equation E equals mc squared, which showed the relationship between energy and mass. Have you heard of this equation before? It's one of the most famous in the world, and it came from Albert's incredible mind. What makes Albert's story so inspiring is not just his success, but the way he overcame challenges. He failed exams, faced rejection, and struggled to find work. Yet, he never gave up on his dreams. His determination and love for learning kept him going, even when the odds were against him. Isn't that something we can all learn from? No matter how hard life gets, we should keep trying, just like Albert did. Albert's struggles and education teach us many lessons. First, failure is not the end. It's just a step on the way to success. Albert failed many times, but he kept moving forward. Second, learning doesn't always happen in a straight line. Albert found his own way of learning and discovered that it's okay to be different. Finally, the people who doubted Albert only made him more determined to prove them wrong. He showed that believing in yourself is one of the most important things you can do. So, what do you think about Albert's journey so far? Can you relate to his struggles? Maybe you've faced challenges in school or work, or maybe you've had to find your own way of doing things. Just like Albert, you have the power to overcome difficulties and achieve great things. His story isn't over yet, and there's even more to learn about his success and legacy. Stay with us as we explore the next part of Albert's life and see how his ideas changed the world forever. Segment 3. Success and Legacy. You might think geniuses are born, not made. But Albert Einstein's story shows us that even the brightest minds face obstacles. He struggled in school, doubted himself, and even had to work a boring job. But then, in a single year, he exploded onto the world stage with ideas that shook the very foundations of physics. Get ready to be amazed as we delve into the incredible story of Albert Einstein, the man who changed our understanding of the universe. Albert Einstein's story truly shines when we look at his incredible achievements and lasting legacy. After overcoming so many challenges in his early life and education, Albert's hard work and determination finally paid off. Let's explore how he became one of the most influential figures in history, not just in science, but as a voice for humanity. The year 1905 is often called Albert's miracle year. While working as a clerk at the Swiss Patent Office, he published 4 groundbreaking scientific papers that forever changed the way we understand the universe. One of these papers introduced his special theory of relativity, which included the famous equation E equals mc squared. Have you heard of that equation before? It's a simple-looking formula, but it's incredibly powerful. It shows that energy, E, and mass, m, are related, with c representing the speed of light squared. This idea was revolutionary because it revealed how energy and matter are connected in ways people had never imagined. Isn't it amazing how such a small equation can explain so much about the world? Albert's discoveries weren't just theoretical. They had practical applications too. For example, his work on the photoelectric effect helped pave the way for modern technologies like solar panels. Imagine that. Every time we use solar energy, we're benefiting from Einstein's ideas. How incredible is it that something he thought of over 100 years ago still affects our lives today? Can you think of other inventions or discoveries that have lasted so long? Despite these achievements, Albert didn't become famous overnight. At first, his ideas were difficult for many scientists to understand or accept, but over time, people realized how brilliant his work was. In 1921, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics, not for his theory of relativity, but for his explanation of the photoelectric effect. This shows that even though his work on relativity was groundbreaking, his contributions to other areas of science were just as important. Albert Einstein's success didn't make him arrogant. In fact, he remained humble and curious throughout his life. He once said, "I have no special talents. I am only passionately curious." Isn't that inspiring? It reminds us that you don't have to be perfect or a genius to achieve great things. Being curious, asking questions, and never giving up can lead to amazing accomplishments. What are you curious about? Maybe your curiosity will lead you to discover something incredible too. As Albert's fame grew, he didn't just focus on science. He also became a strong advocate for peace and human rights. During the 1930s, when Adolf Hitler rose to power in Germany, Albert spoke out against the Nazi regime. As a Jewish man, Albert faced great danger and had to leave Germany. He moved to the United States, where he began working at Princeton University. It's sad to think that someone who contributed so much to the world had to flee his own country. But Albert didn't let this stop him from making a difference. In America, Albert continued his scientific work, but he also used his fame to promote important causes. He spoke out against war, saying, "Peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding." He believed that people should work together to solve problems peacefully instead of fighting. Do you agree with that idea? Imagine how different the world might be if everyone thought like Albert. One of the most challenging moments in Albert's later life was when he learned that his famous equation, E equals mc squared, had been used to create atomic bombs. During World War II, Albert and other scientists wrote a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, warning that Nazi Germany might be developing powerful weapons. This letter led to the Manhattan Project, which developed the first atomic bombs. Albert didn't work directly on the project, but he felt deeply conflicted about the outcome. When the bombs were used in Japan, causing massive destruction, Albert was heartbroken. He spent the rest of his life advocating for nuclear disarmament and warning about the dangers of such weapons. Isn't it remarkable that a man known for his scientific genius also cared so much about humanity? Albert Einstein's legacy goes far beyond his scientific contributions. He showed the world that it's possible to use knowledge and fame for good. He also demonstrated the importance of staying true to your values even when it's difficult. Albert once said, "Try not to become a man of success, but rather try to become a man of value." What do you think he meant by that? To Albert, being a good person and making a positive impact was more important than fame or fortune. Throughout his life, Albert continued to inspire others with his wisdom and humor. He loved sharing simple but profound ideas that made people think. For example, he once joked, "If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough." Isn't that a great reminder to keep things clear and easy to understand? It's also a good tip for anyone learning English. Try to explain things in your own words to make sure you truly understand them. Albert Einstein passed away on April 18, 1955, at the age of 76. Even in his final years, he worked on new ideas and theories, showing that learning and curiosity have no age limit. Today, his name is synonymous with genius, but his life story shows us that he was also a person who faced struggles, made mistakes, and cared deeply about others. So, what can we learn from Albert Einstein's life? First, we learn that curiosity is a powerful force. Albert's questions about the compass as a child led him to discover the mysteries of the universe. Second, we learn that failure is not the end. Albert faced many challenges, but he never gave up. Finally, we learn the importance of using our talents to help others. Albert's work wasn't just about understanding the universe, it was about making the world a better place. Albert Einstein's success and legacy inspire us to dream big and stay curious. What about you? What dreams do you have? Remember, you don't have to be perfect to achieve great things. Like Albert said, being passionately curious is enough to start. So keep asking questions, keep learning, and who knows? Maybe one day your story will inspire others too. Vocabulary. Now that we've explored Albert Einstein's fascinating life, let's take a closer look at some of the words and phrases from his story. Learning new vocabulary is a great way to improve your English, and these words will help. You talk about not only Einstein, but also determination, curiosity, and success. Let's start with the word curiosity. This word is a noun and means the desire to know or learn something. In the story, we learned that young Albert's curiosity about his father's compass inspired him to explore science. He wanted to know why the needle always pointed north, and that small question led to a lifetime of discoveries. Curiosity is a powerful trait. It pushes us to ask questions like, why does this happen? Or, how does this work? Imagine, if Albert Einstein hadn't been curious about the compass, do you think he would have become the scientist we admire today? What are you curious about? Maybe you love asking questions about space, technology, or even how languages work. Curiosity is the first step to learning something new. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Here's an example sentence using curiosity. Albert's curiosity about the world helped him discover the famous equation E equals mc squared. Next, we have the word perseverance. This is also a noun, and it means the ability to keep trying even when things are difficult. In the story, we saw how Albert failed exams, struggled to find a job, and faced many rejections. But he didn't give up. His perseverance helped him overcome these challenges and achieve great success. Imagine studying for an English exam. You work hard, but maybe you don't pass the first time. What should you do? Like Albert, you should keep going. That's perseverance. It's not about never failing. It's about never giving up. Albert once said, "Failure is success in progress." Isn't that a wonderful way to think about it? Here's an example sentence with perseverance. Albert's perseverance helped him succeed even when others doubted him. Now let's talk about the word theory. This is another noun and means an idea that explains something, For example, Einstein's theory of relativity changed how people understood time, space, and energy. A theory isn't just a guess. It's an idea based on careful study and evidence. Have you ever come up with your own theory about something? Maybe you've wondered why birds fly in a certain pattern or why some words in English sound similar to words in your language. Coming up with theories is a way to explore the world and learn more. Here's an example sentence with theory. Einstein's theory of relativity is one of the most famous ideas in science. Another important word from the story is genius. This noun describes a person with exceptional intelligence or talent. Albert Einstein is often called a genius because of his groundbreaking discoveries in science. But did you know that Einstein believed everyone has some kind of genius inside them? He once said, "Everybody is a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid." This quote reminds us that everyone has unique talents. Are you good at drawing, solving problems, or learning languages? That's your genius. You don't have to be Albert Einstein to have something special about you. Here's an example sentence. With genius, Albert Einstein's genius changed the world, but he always stayed humble. Finally, let's learn the word legacy. A legacy is something a person leaves behind after they are gone. Einstein's legacy includes not only his scientific discoveries, but also his work for peace and humanity. A legacy can be an idea, a memory, or an impact on the world. Think about your own legacy. What do you want people to remember about you? Maybe you want to be remembered as someone who was kind, curious, or hardworking. Creating a positive legacy doesn't mean you have to change the world. Even small actions can leave a lasting impact. Here's an example sentence with legacy. Einstein's legacy reminds us to stay curious and use our talents to help others. Now, let's review the words we've learned: curiosity, perseverance, theory, genius, and legacy. Each of these words tells a part of Albert Einstein's story, but they can also help you talk about your own experiences. Can you think of ways to use these words in your life? For example, what are you curious about? When was a time you showed perseverance? What theories do you have about the world around you? Practicing new vocabulary is an important part of improving your English. Try writing sentences with these words or using them in conversations. Remember, language learning is like science. It's all about experimenting, asking questions, and discovering something new. Keep learning, and you'll create your own legacy as an English speaker. Grammar. Now that we've explored Albert Einstein's incredible story and learned some new vocabulary, let's dive into grammar. Today, we'll focus on the past simple tense, a key part of English that helps us talk about things that happened in the past. This tense is perfect for telling stories like Einstein's, and it's an essential tool for improving your English. The past simple tense is used to describe actions or events that started and finished in the past. For example, Albert Einstein was born in 1879. This tells us that Einstein's birth happened a long time ago and is not continuing today. Let's break it down step by step. Forming the past simple tense. To form the past simple tense, you typically add ed to the base form of a regular verb. For example, work becomes worked. Play becomes played. Visit becomes visited. However, many common English verbs are irregular, which means they don't follow this rule. For instance, go becomes went. Have becomes had. Do becomes did. Be becomes was or were. Story is full of past simple verbs. Let's look at some examples. Albert studied math and science because he loved them. He wrote his first scientific paper at the age of 16. Einstein moved to the United States in 1933. Can you identify the regular and irregular verbs in these sentences? That's right. Studied and moved are regular, while wrote is irregular. Learning these irregular forms takes practice, but don't worry. The more you use them, the easier they will become. Using the past, simple tense. Now let's talk about how to use the past simple tense in sentences, positive sentences. The structure is simple. Subject plus past tense verb plus object. Examples. Albert Einstein was a genius. He published his theory. In 1905. Negative sentences. To make a sentence negative, use did not, or the contraction didn't, followed by the base form of the verb. Subject plus did not plus base form of the verb plus object. Examples. Albert Einstein did not enjoy school as a child. He didn't give up even when he failed exams. Notice that we don't use the past tense form of the verb after did not. For example, we say did not like, not did not liked. Questions. To ask a question, use did at the beginning of the sentence, followed by the subject and the base form of the verb. Did plus subject plus base form of the verb plus object. Examples. Did Albert Einstein always love science? Did he fail exams as a student? Practice examples. Let's practice with some sentences about Albert Einstein. Read these sentences and try to fill in the gaps before I tell you the answers. Okay, the answers are wrote, did not give up, did Einstein fail. Now read along. Albert Einstein wrote his famous equation in 1905. He did not give up when his teachers doubted him. Did Einstein fail some of his exams? How did you do? If you made a mistake, that's okay. Mistakes are part of learning. Let's keep going. Why is the past simple important? The past simple tense is especially useful for telling stories, like Einstein's, because it helps us describe events in the order they happened. For example, Einstein was born in 1879. He became curious about science as a child. Later, he published his theory of relativity. This sequence makes the story clear and easy to follow. Can you imagine telling a story without using the past simple? It would be very confusing. Common mistakes. Here are a few common mistakes learners make with the past simple tense, using the base form of the verb instead of the past tense. Incorrect. Albert Einstein wrote his theory in 1905. Correct. Albert Einstein wrote his theory in 1905 using the past tense form after did, didn't. Incorrect. He didn't like school. Correct. He didn't like school. Forgetting to use did in questions. Incorrect. Einstein always loved science. Correct. Did Einstein always love science? Let's practice together. Try answering these questions about Albert Einstein using the past simple tense. Take your time and think about each answer. Here's how they should look. What year was Einstein born? Who inspired his curiosity about science? Did he fail any exams as a student? Final thoughts on the past simple tense. The past simple tense is one of the most important tools for improving your English. It allows you to tell stories, describe events, and share experiences. As you practice, try to think about your own life. What stories can you tell using the past simple? Maybe you can talk about a trip you took, a time you learned something new, or even your favorite childhood memory. Remember, learning grammar is like building a house. You need a strong foundation, and that's what the past simple gives you. Keep practicing, and soon you'll be telling stories as confidently as Einstein shared his theories. Key takeaways. We've explored the inspiring life of Albert Einstein, learned some useful vocabulary, and practiced the past simple tense. Now let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've learned today. This section, the key takeaways, is your chance to review and remember the important lessons, both from Einstein's story and for improving your English. Lessons from Einstein's life. One of the most important lessons we can learn from Albert Einstein is to never stop asking questions. From the time he was a child, Einstein's curiosity drove him to explore the world around him. Remember when he received a compass from his father at the age of 5? He didn't just look at it and move on. He wondered why the needle always pointed north. That simple question sparked his love for science. Now think about your own life. What are you curious about? Maybe you wonder how people learn languages or why certain things happen in nature. Curiosity is like a door. It opens new opportunities for learning. So always keep asking questions, just like Einstein did. Another lesson from Einstein's life is that failure is not the end. It's part of success. Did you know that Einstein failed some of his exams? Imagine how disappointing that must have felt. But instead of giving up, he kept going. He worked harder, taught himself, and eventually succeeded. This reminds us that failure is not something to fear. It's okay to make mistakes, especially when you're learning English. Maybe you say the wrong word or use the wrong tense. Don't worry. Mistakes are your teachers. They show you what you need to improve. Remember Einstein's quote, "Failure is success in progress." Every step, even the difficult ones, brings you closer to your goal. The third lesson we can learn from Einstein is to stay curious and work hard. Einstein didn't become a genius overnight. He read books, solved problems, and spent years studying. Even after becoming famous, he continued to learn and share his ideas. As you improve your English, think about Einstein's dedication. Learning a language takes time and effort, but every word you learn, every sentence you practice, is a step forward. Keep working hard, and you'll achieve your goals. Language. Recap. Let's review the vocabulary we learned today. We talked about words like curiosity, which means the desire to learn something. This word fits perfectly with Einstein's story because his curiosity led to so many discoveries. Are you curious about how to use this word in a sentence? Here's an example. My curiosity about English helps me learn new words every day. We also learned the word perseverance, which is the ability to keep going even when things are tough. Einstein's perseverance helped him overcome failures and challenges. How about you? Have you ever shown perseverance in your studies? If you keep practicing your English every day, that's perseverance. Another word we learned was theory, which is an idea that explains something. Einstein's theory of relativity is one of the most famous ideas in science. But don't forget, you can have your own theories too. For example, I have a theory that listening to English stories helps me learn faster. Lastly, we talked about legacy, which is what someone leaves behind after they're gone. Einstein's legacy is not only his scientific discoveries, but also his belief in peace and humanity. As you learn and grow, think about the legacy you're creating. What do you want to be remembered for? We also practiced the past simple tense, which is used to talk about actions that happened in the past. This tense helped us tell Einstein's story. Albert Einstein was born in 1879. He published his theory in 1905. The past simple tense is your tool for sharing stories and experiences. Use it often, and you'll become more confident in your English. Personal reflection. Now, let's bring these lessons into your own life. Imagine you are the main character of your story. What have you learned from your challenges? What questions drive your curiosity? What goals do you want to achieve? For example, if you're learning English, think about how far you've already come. Maybe a year ago you couldn't say a full sentence in English, but now you're reading, listening, and even writing. That's progress. Like Einstein, you are building your legacy step by step. Final encouragement. Albert Einstein's story reminds us that greatness isn't about being perfect. It's about being curious, working hard, and never giving up. Whether you're studying English, starting a new job, or pursuing a dream, the lessons from his life can inspire you to keep going. As Einstein once said, life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. So, keep moving forward, one word, one sentence, one story at a time. Remember, every mistake is a step toward success, and every question you ask opens a new door. What's next? Take a moment to think about what you've learned today. What words stood out to you? What grammar points do you want to practice? More? Write them down. And don't forget to use them in your conversations and writing. If you enjoyed today's lesson, don't stop here. There are so many stories, words, and grammar points waiting for you to explore. Stay curious, keep learning, and remember that every step you take is building your own unique legacy. Thank you for joining me today. Keep up the great work, and I'll see you in the next story. Conclusion. We've come to the end of today's story, and what a journey it has been. Albert Einstein's life teaches us that curiosity, perseverance, and hard work can lead to incredible achievements. But more than that, his story shows us that success isn't about being perfect. It's about staying determined and asking questions, even when the answers seem far away. Learning English is much like Einstein's journey. There will be moments when you feel challenged or even stuck, but remember that every word you learn, every mistake you make, and every story you hear brings you closer to your goals. As Einstein himself said, "I have no special talent. I am only passionately curious." Let your curiosity drive your learning. Think about what you've accomplished today. You've learned new words like curiosity, perseverance, and legacy. You've practiced the past simple tense, an essential tool for storytelling. And most importantly, you've been inspired by a story of resilience and brilliance. If you enjoyed today's lesson, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Learn English with Stories 365. There are more stories, more lessons, and more adventures waiting for you. Share this video with a friend who wants to improve their English. And don't forget to join our Facebook group, where English learners from around the globe come together to share tips, practice, and support each other. The link's in the description. Let's keep learning and growing together. Remember, your English journey is your own unique story. Write it with curiosity, courage, and joy. Thank you for joining me today, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Keep learning, keep dreaming, and never give up.